And really, the elephant in the room is not, people working from home. It's AI. That's going to disrupt far more than anything else. What I can tell you very clearly is an AI robot doesn't need an office. They need a data center. So that is the elephant in the room. In terms of coming back to office,
Mark, welcome to the Future Work Podcast. I really appreciate it, my friend. Say, you're the largest operator in the flexible workspace industry and have been for years. What got you into this crazy industry to begin with?
frustration with the real estate industry, Frank. So this was my 10th business. I was on number 9 and I wanted to get some office space, and it was painful to the extreme to sort of sign up for it, whatever. It just didn't seem right. So I thought there was a better way. In conjunction with that, I saw other people had the same problem. They were sitting around in cafes. This was in Brussels, Belgium, having meetings when they really should have been doing those meetings in properly supported meeting rooms in great buildings in Brussels at that time. So it's a combination of both those things. It's just a gap in the market, really, saying, look, the real estate business should be a whole lot better.
Well, I think you were part of a movement that started in the late 70s, early 80s. I think you started 87, 86, 87, if I remember right, with Reggie Gustafsson in Brussels. I remember the two centers that you started with. So that's a great history and a great ride forward. But now that the industry is maturing, there's tens of thousands of flexible workplace facilities all over the world. We're becoming a high density in some markets, like London, as an example. Um, and yet, large business, great supporter for a while of the industry, using our flexibility, is saying everybody needs to return to the office, to the core office. What's your take on that right now? How do you think companies,
They're not saying that. So
reporters are saying that?
are interpreting that. But of course, that's totally ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense. So if you're a large company with 100,000 or 50,000 workers, you're not saying, you're not trying to get people all to come. You're not even thinking about it. But when a reporter asks you a question, what they're really asking is, do you believe in the future of the office? And what they're saying in reply is, yeah, offices are great places to get focused work done. But this sort of RTO thing is it's a journalist hobby horse question, which is answered with a yes or a no answer, which is not the right answer. And then, by the way, many of these companies will say, yeah, okay, next question. You say, how many, right, you want everyone back in office? How many days a week? And they get them back for 2 days a week. I mean, that's crazy. It's even more crazy than getting them back in for 5 days. So, this is something that's in flux. The good news is great future for the office, but it has moved. People, it makes no sense in the digital world to have people commuting hours a day to go and use a laptop somewhere else.
Well, no, I completely agree. I don't think people have ever minded being in an office with their colleagues. What they do hate, though, is that commute and the
Yeah,
cost of that commute as well, both to the company as well as to themselves.
and also this idea, sorry to interrupt, Frank, being with your colleagues. I mean, look, I mean, large office floors, you're with 4 people that sit next to you, around you, right? You're not with everyone. You walk in, you meet the 4 people, you maybe meet someone else, you walk around, but no, you're not not everyone chatting with each other. And it's not, this idea that somehow put people in the same area and they all communicate is a fallacy. Much better spend the money on technology than make sure that people communicate. And you create
You would then strongly disagree with Jamie Dimon's comments, etc., and others, Elon Musk, that says we need to get everybody back to the office so we can preserve or maintain our corporate culture.
No, I disagree with the statement because this is too simple a statement. So what they're actually saying is it's important for people to do focused work. Right. Now, what they are saying as well, I think Elon Musk is saying, and rightly so, if you just say to people you can work from home and you don't supervise that, then you in fact lost your workforce. It's how good are you as a company or as an individual on managing your resource. You certainly don't need them all in the same office. That is not a measure of management. Many companies operate all over the country. They have people all over every state in America.
Sure.
They can still manage them.
Well, your company does, our company does.
Yeah,
We've been,
we're in 122 countries, and
yeah.
we have to put a lot of effort into managing remote locations, remote people, but they're not saying they've all got to be back to one central office. They're not saying that. They're saying offices are important, and that I agree with. No distractions, no, basically an ability to ensure that people have the right work surroundings as opposed to the wrong surroundings, which can be a home work environment.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. A good friend of mine who lives in the East Coast, Northeast, just took a job with a company out here in the Midwest in Texas. And they have to move their family. They have to move their household. They've got to sell a house, buy a house. They're spending all their time focused on the activity of physically getting to a place so they can be in one spot rather than being the most productive they could be. And I think that is the beginning. That's just the very beginning of where the problem starts.
It's highly nuanced, and it is not a yes no answer, and that is the problem. When someone asks Jamie Dimon, who's running a huge company, okay, do you believe in getting people in an office to do focused work? He rightly says yes. But having said that, they will have a lot of people that work from home and do it very well. It's not all 100,000 people. There will be back office people that can easily do what they have to do from home. We are in the office business, Frank. We have nearly 3,000 people that work from home, 3,000, all of
Yeah.
our back office. Because for those guys, the commute is painful for them. It takes a lot of their day. Many of them are working mothers, things like this. They want to be near their kids. They don't want to be 2 hours away, an hour away.
No, agreed.
No sense. And they are doing customer service work over the internet, over Teams, or over the phone. They're not in an office. They don't need to be there because they're talking to customers all day.
Well, it's interesting. We don't have that many employees, but probably our ratios are about the same. About a third of our people work remotely.
Yeah,
About another third work on a hybrid basis.
yeah,
The other third work on a full-time dedicated office.
yeah.
Uh,
What's right for the person? So, as I said, and I think you're saying as well, Frank, it's not a yes no answer. And clearly, there's a huge job for offices in helping individuals be more productive for their company. Equally, there'll be people that are really good at working from home, and that's no problem so long as you can manage it.
okay, let me throw a couple of the quick numbers out. The real estate, related real estate, because that's where you started. 1 day a week out of the office equals a 20% office vacancy factor for a company. And that means 20% less beneficial utilization for the commercial real estate.
Well, not really, but anyway, go on.
You go with the example. There's a material reduction in the benefit of utilizing that space, the less you're in that space. So where do you think the economies of the world are growing, and let's say at 2 to 3%? Let's assume that pushes office space at 2 to 3%. Where do you think that balance, if 40% or 30% of the people are working outside of the office, where do you think the balance comes back to just commercial real estate? Forget our industry for a second.
So if you sort of take a look at the future of real estate for a second, it will be less and better quality. So when people sort of want to bring folks in, it better be good because others
Yeah.
are not going to come in, right? So it becomes much more of an experience based product. So number one, number two,
Also, as you said.
Yeah. Number two, the future of real estate is that there will be a lot less, and really this sort of nonsense talk about, sort of working from home or RTO, it's not a thing, really. People have been working from home for the last 10 years. I know I have, and
Yep.
I know I'm very unproductive doing it, but I work remotely in a hybrid way all the time.
Well, you're home now, I think, or thereabouts.
No, I'm not actually. But
I'm at my home.
yeah, yeah. So it depends on the individual. But look, the future of real estate is very clearly there'll be less requirement, and really the elephant in the room is not people working from home. It's AI. That's going to disrupt far more than anything else. What I can tell you very clearly is an AI robot doesn't need an office. They need a data center. So that is the elephant in the room. In terms of coming back to office, it's not about inflation. It's not about economies growing, anything. It's about population. And the real question is how many office workers, knowledge workers, will there be in 5 or 10 years' time? Now, the key thing there, apart from AI, is the populations generally, knowledge workers are dropping,
Yep.
okay, because of birth rates. So less real estate. Plus, companies want to be efficient. It's got, if work can be done effectively from another location, and I can tell you that the biggest change isn't with front office people, it's all back office people. If you go around suburban America, rural America, those massive call centers, 50% of them are gone, and the other 50% are going. That's a big change.
In your operations and in ours, we all have AI receptionists now
Yeah,
that we utilize, and we had. I doubt whether you did either. We didn't let people go. Just as we grew, we stopped hiring people.
yeah, but then you're becoming more efficient. Therefore, you need less people.
Well, and better service too. Better
Yeah,
service.
of course. Yeah, a computer never doesn't take absence. And a computer never turns off. Look, it's a new world we're going into, and this sort of very basic discussion, which you opened your question with RTO, that black and white. It's nothing to. That's one small thing on the spectrum. One small thing, but work is changing.
What's the big thing then? If that's
The
one,
big thing is technology,
technology, okay.
and then the second big thing is technology, and the third thing is management techniques. It's not off. It's about how you manage your teams. How you use technology to do that, and this idea that you can only get the best out of people when they're all sitting outside your office is really you must be a bad manager.
Well, we've always believed that the best people are where they are. You leave them
Yeah,
where they are so you don't disrupt their family,
yeah.
and you figure how to use technology remotely. So I guess we're either ahead of our time.
Get people together, Frank. Then you get the questions. They say, "Well, what about community? And don't people learn at the coffee machine?" And yes, but you can reproduce all of that with an offsite every month. Just do an offsite. Then you force people to get together. Don't take a chance. And modern technology, software programs work on cultivating the culture, building the culture in a company, getting people communicating so they know what's going on. By the way, very few offices you walk around and you ask people what's going on in the company, they have no idea. They're sitting in but they don't know because no one talks to them. Yeah, companies are hierarchical. You only talk to the people you know or the people around you. Anyway, it will become. It's all about productivity. It's all about either your biggest cost or your second largest cost. That is your people. Nothing to do with, forget real estate. It's people. So if you can make your people 5 or 10% more productive by supporting them better in what they do, that is a huge return on that small investment.
Yeah, when you look at the economics, real estate has generally been the fourth or fifth cost. People are
Yeah,
first always. But
absolutely.
thereafter, it becomes either technology or, interestingly, travel.
Yeah,
Travel historically, and that's diminishing. It's reducing now.
yeah,
Historically, has been the third highest cost of any corporation.
yes.
Um, so it is going to be interesting as we see. But As the technology develops, as we all use advanced technologies, one number just as a relative to remote. You're familiar with Randstad, the HR company.
Yep.
Um, when they run an ad on behalf of any of their large corporate clients,
Mm.
and they use the word remote work or remote work possible, blah blah blah, in the ad, they get a 5-to-1 return.
Of course. Yes.
So if you're going to win the battle for talent, if you're a company seeking to win the battle for talent,
Hmm.
remote out just trumps
No, of
the,
course.
the culture argument
It's
or
obvious.
trumps any argument.
Yeah. But then you come back to this sort of very basic question where you say, well, you believe in return to office or not? It's a crazy question, and you get crazy answers because the answer's not one thing, and it's highly nuanced. Anyway, it is developing fast. The need for real estate will reduce in quite a lot of places for other many reasons together. But people will want better quality and they want it better located. Give it to me in a convenient location because I really want to use an office. I want to be at home. I want to go, if it's down the road, love to go there. Love to get away from home.
Well, it's funny. We did a study, God, decades and decades ago when we first started in this industry, a marketing study. It's a
Mm.
really dumb thing to do back then for our company. But we came away with one simple, um, relevant thing that still maintains today, and that's it. People want to work 5 minutes from their house and 30 minutes from their client, not
Yep.
30 minutes from their house and 5 minutes from their client.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's a real simple model to think about, but it really is true. That's going to change and shift the way the dynamics of central business districts are, unless the cost of housing comes down inside of cities, uh,
Correct.
which has been one of the major problems we have. The commute issues we do today. People can't afford to live in the city.
Correct.
You think that we're going to have less commercial real estate? I agree with you. It's going to be higher quality. I agree with you, regardless of where it is. Regardless of where it is.
Yeah.
But how are we going to redevelop cities, or are we going to bother? Because there's a ton. If you use London or Manhattan, there's more Class C office space than there is Class A office space.
Yeah. No, it's redeveloping. Look,
But how are you going to afford to redevelop if you don't have the density?
it's being redeveloped into
Residential
but that's very expensive for a lot of these buildings. So,
takes an age too.
of course, but it's changing. Look, the problem is, let me give you a story here, short one. Copenhagen, Denmark,
Hmm.
right? The whole idea of work from home is just they don't need it because they all live in affordable accommodation 15 minutes from where they work and they cycle to work, all weathers. We're on
Hmm.
cycle paths.
Yep.
They've got cheap public transport, really good trams, really good buses, really everything really good. So getting around in Copenhagen, uh, in Denmark, easy. So people have wonderful, affordable stuff near to the office. And the whole idea, you would never ask the question there, oh, what do you believe in return to the office? Because they all want to stay in offices because they're convenient. There's very few that say, oh, no, I want to work from home. Right. Now, that's why.
Copenhagen, though, is a city of about 650,000 people, and it's fundamentally a flat city. It's a 5-story, 6-story city. It's horizontal, not
Yeah.
vertical.
Mhm.
And there are 5 or 6 different micro city centers within.
Yep.
So it's tiny by comparison to London, Mexico City, New York, Hong Kong, etc. And the topography of it allows for cycling because it's flat,
Yeah.
regardless of the weather. And they've built the cycling infrastructure. I know Denmark and Copenhagen has the highest cycling infrastructure in the world. So it is really an outlier in many respects for what we look at.
It's an example, but it's a very affordable public transport as well. In addition,
Hmm.
if you take the example of either London, Manhattan, very expensive. London's got the most expensive subway in the world, London.
Yep.
Okay. And has the least amount of affordable housing in London. Now, if you look back, both London and New York, you've got Stuyvesant City, if you remember, in New York.
Yeah, remember it?
Whole
Yeah.
thing built affordable housing. I don't know, in the late 1800s. Same, you got Peabody buildings all over London where they built affordable housing for workers, not for the high level workers. And that is what has to happen if you want to preserve your city. It's about that. It's about releasing space, supporting the development of not all high-end apartments, but affordable housing for the people that actually do the work. Then you have a vibrant city. 7 days a week. You have a vibrant economy, and so the successful cities will be the ones that do that. And you have affordable public transport.
Well, where does that lay as we look at flexible workspace? How do you think that helps to shape? How do you think flexible workspace itself helps to shape that model? And where do you see the industry going, our industry, as we know it today, going?
Look, our industry is about convenience. It's sort of nothing. It's not real estate as such. It's about convenience.
Service. It's a service.
It's a service. It's convenience. It's about supporting workers. So what you will see in our business and others, just it's all about coverage. It's not about one building. It's about coverage. So if you look at the United States as an example, we're on about 1,500 buildings today. 1,500. We think that is only 10% of what we will do in the US. That's just us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a market of at least 15,000 buildings, all joined up. That's a single platform, and it's that the future is a lot more locations. You said earlier that you thought the markets are saturated. They're absolutely not saturated. They're saturated in terms of people doing narrow product lines who are sort of in the sublet, what we would call, or I would call, the subletting business. But
Mm-hmm.
the ones that are doing service and sort of overall linked up platforms are very unsaturated.
Well, we've always believed and defined our industry as being the combination of people, place, and technology
Mhm.
brought together into a bundled service
Yeah,
delivered with a highly flexible agreement.
yeah,
Um, and that saturation point, in my view, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we said 5% of all the commercial office space in the world will be flexible, will be flex space, our industry. Today, I would say it could approach 15 to 20%.
our studies would say there's a JLL study that's talking 30%, and it's 20 to 30%. And look, we just on our own, Frank, last year we just did our results. We added 900 buildings last year, 24 alone. We
Mm-hmm.
will do more this year. So, and let me tell you, you know me, Frank, from long. I'm unhappy with doing 1,000, 11, 1,200. We've got to do a lot more because this is about convenience for our customers. It's no use having one building. You need hundreds of them, all that they can use wherever and whenever they want. And that is what the value add is.
Yeah, the industry geographically has moved from the central business district where it started in
Yeah.
cities to the second
20.
area and right out into the extended suburbs now.
Yeah, look, 20% of ours are,
Yeah.
deep suburbs or rural locations. We
Yeah.
do them on farms.
Yep.
Okay, and 20% is still in sort of larger cities around the world.
Yeah.
And again, we're in 122 countries, Frank. This is one of those universal changes. It's changing in Egypt, Indonesia, everywhere
Yep.
because it's technology that's ubiquitous. Technology just pervades everywhere. It's not. It's sort of something just in New York.
Visa. Technology doesn't see a border.
No,
None of these things. Technology doesn't have a favored currency.
no, that's it.
It's non-political. I mean, all of these things that we see that are both disruptive and collaborative at the same time. So I agree with you completely that is the driver. The challenge you've got always, though, is adaptation, the speed of adaptation.
Mm.
There, there's the proverbial Luddites of that have investment or political clout in certain areas that just don't see how to make that work. That frustrate the speed of change, even though we all know it's coming.
Changing quickly, Frank, because you see, economics trumps everything. Absolutely. I'm sorry to use the word trumps, but trumps everything. You can't,
Yeah,
that's it. The reason this is happening is because companies get better productivity at lower costs. They like that. HR departments are able to hire people in more locations with less pain, don't have to relocate. That's the bottom line, and that's why it's happening. And there isn't a single company. And I was talking to the CFO of one of the largest companies in the world with the best cash flow in the world. I think it's number 5 on cash flow. And I was very surprised. I said, "Well, you're probably not interested in this, but our services allow you to move capex into opex.
yep,
But
yep.
that probably doesn't bother you because you've got loads of cash flow." I said, no, we're absolutely capital light, absolutely in everything we do, because we want to pass our cash flow to our investors.
Sure.
We don't want to, load it up into the real estate industry or something like that.
Yeah, well, the debt on your balance sheet, if you can free that up, the long-term debt on your balance sheet from leasehold and
Yeah.
debt, construction debt, whatever,
So it's
convert that
happening.
to available funds, then you
Yeah.
can grow your company faster.
Yeah. Look, it's happening, and it's not one of the big problems, Frank, is in people in our industry. They're very inward looking. So I'm outward looking. I've done lots of businesses, and I have another private business that you know about.
Sure.
And you wouldn't even think of like buying cars. You don't even lease them. You rent them. You rent a fleet of cars. You say, well, I have these ones for a year, these ones for 3 years, and you give them back at the end. And this is in other industries. What we are talking about as if it's, a eureka moment has happened in so many other industries already. It's not new.
Well, it almost follows the concept of what happened with intermodal transportation and all goods and services for supply
Yeah.
chain, the just-in-time concept
Yeah.
of needed, available when needed, as needed, and otherwise not utilized
Yeah.
from a cost point of view. I was at a meeting a few months ago of uh, private equity and venture capital companies. There was about 150, 200 of them. And it was terrifying to me to look at the way they looked at this issue versus the savings they could be making and the investments they make
Mm.
by looking at flexibility first.
Yeah.
They're looking at it last. They were still thinking of it tactically as opposed to strategically.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 of them. And capital has to shift and demand that their invested companies utilize this flexible model to any degree.
Yeah.
Uh, or you say it's all about economics. If capital doesn't demand that, then people are lazy and they'll do whatever they.
And that's the opportunity, Frank. So, again, there will come a day when we don't have to explain what we do. That day is not now because I still have to explain it. So, well, what do you do? I do this. They say, well, what's that? I don't know what that is. So, you don't have to explain to kids how to use a hotel or what a hotel is. They know from the age of 5. I say, yes, hotels, yeah, my 5-year-old grandson will be able to explain that to you because but hotels have been there for a long time. Hotels, fantastic service. You book, you turn up one night, you leave it afterwards. It's exactly what you want when you're traveling or going on vacation, whatever. So we're still a way off that, and that's a question of marketing. More people use it. We're up to about 8 million users at the moment in IWG and all of our brands. If 8 million people get a great service, they tell other people who then start to use it. But it takes time.
Yeah, I think education of the public or of the business model has been a struggle that,
Yeah.
God, you and I have faced for 30, 40 years.
It's just about scale.
Not over.
We're spending 150 million a year now. My guys, we said we need to be spending 500 million to really make a dent.
If that, if that, even that would work.
That would work, Frank. That would work. Don't worry.
Well, then spend it.
No, unfortunately, I'm a public company. I've got to keep turning in a profit at the same time.
Oh well,
Gradually.
you're always trying to get something for extra, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. That makes sense. Well, Mark, leave us with one thought. Sorry to sandbag you with that, but leave us with one thing that you think, from inside of the industry, is the most important single thing that the industry could be doing in order to educate, in order to grow itself overall.
Well, that's an impossible question, Frank. Look, one of the problems with the industry we're in is so fragmented. It just doesn't make sense because you have so many people that have
More so or less so?
less fragmented because no one's got any scale. So you more or less have the same overheads. If you know this, you've been doing it longer than I have. If you got one center or you got 21 centers, your overheads are very similar, right? And that's the problem. No one's got any scale. So what has to happen is there has to be some consolidation, either of booking platforms, of something that brings people together and gives small groups in small places or larger groups access to the market. So because otherwise everyone's fishing in their own pond, if you like.
Yeah.
There's always limited fish, but the pond's much, much bigger. And so I think the industry, as you call it, will grow in its offer. And at the same time, you're going to see better combinations, which get better marketing, which start to get the thing on the map, and it starts to become a normal operation and not something that seems to be exotic or you have to explain.
Got it. Okay. Well, Mark, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it today very much. Wish you every bit of luck doing everything, especially getting some time off and going sailing. So, just appreciate your time today, and we'll look forward to chatting soon.
Great pleasure. Thank you, Frank. Great to speak.
If it's impacting the future of work, it's in the Future of Work podcast by Allwork.Space.